Kiwis love being outdoors, so why not transform your outdoor living space with a Sunview? With our quality range of stylish pergolas, outdoor blinds and awnings, having a Sunview is like adding a new room to your home, but for a fraction of the price. Enjoy the outdoors all year round with a range of products to suit your needs. Book a free consultation now with Sunview and see the difference.
Well, look, I was originally, and we will get onto it, our next guest, our foreign affairs guru, Professor Robert Patman. We were going to talk, obviously, Israel and Iran, but a breaking story that you would have heard the news. This has only come out in the last 2 or 3 minutes. News from Wellington that New Zealand it's actually come out of Winston Peters' office, that New Zealand has paused its core support funding for the Cook Islands after the government there signed partnership agreements with China without telling us. So Winston Peters' office says, and he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, that about $200 million in potential funding in the future is frozen until we get an explanation. Okay? And they need to explain why they did the secret partnership deal with China. Now, this is interesting. Why is Mr. Peters announcing this while Chris Luxon is up glad-handling the Chinese Communist Party in China? This seems designed almost to sabotage Luxon's visit to China, or is it done in coordination with the Prime Minister to get the Chinese to pull out of the deal with the Cook Islands? What a brilliant time to be interviewing Professor Robert Patman, who joins us now. Robert, how are you?
Good morning, Sean. How are you doing?
Good. That's weird, isn't it?
It is very strange, isn't it? Like you, I both those possibilities occurred to me, but I would think, on balance, it had to be done on a coordinated basis. But timing is important in politics, and
yeah,
it is strange. You would have thought the government would want to get that out of the way about at least a month ahead of Mr. Luxon's visit to China.
Or maybe the Chinese say, yeah, to the Rarotonga, in the end, we'll modify the deal. It seems odd.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of there's irritation with both the Cook Islands and China over this. Stating the obvious, I know, but I think the thing that really upset Mr. Peters and Mr. Luxon was the fact that China went ahead with this deal, the partnership agreement, in full knowledge that the Cook Islands was part of the New Zealand realm. That is to say that New Zealand took a certain degree of responsibility financially for the running of the country.
Yeah, well, I don't know. China's the best place to be visiting right now, is it?
Well, it depends on your perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think New Zealand has to look after its economic interests. China's our biggest trade partner.
Mm.
And we may not like the government in what it represents in China, but it is an important relationship for us. It's a major export destination, and there's been some ups and downs in the New Zealand-Chinese relationship. Since about 2018, governments, starting with Jacinda Ardern's government, have been critical of China's role in a number of ways, but overall, it's got through the bumps in the road, and the relationship in economic terms remains very important. So I think Chris Luxon is right to go there. It's not something you can take for granted. And by the way, it's China that provided a free trade agreement, and it's not China that's imposed tariffs on it.
Look, I see exactly what you're saying, Robert. Absolutely. Just wouldn't it be great if they're a functional democracy?
Of course, and I think that was the assumption behind many Western countries when they, supported China's membership of the WTO. I think there was an assumption that China would gradually mellow because China is a very successful economic player in the global economy. So, the assumption was that as it got more and more involved in the world, its political system would mellow and you perhaps have the, decline of the one-party state and maybe a multi-party democracy. But that hasn't happened, clearly.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's look now at, the big, international story of the last weeks, and that is that the proxy war which has really been raging since 1979 between Iran and Israel, has now become a direct shooting war. And this isn't the outbreak of hostilities. This is simply, I guess, a crisis point or an escalation of what has been a war for a while. I don't think either you or I are strategically knowledgeable enough to talk much about the military aspects of it, except that, God, we're lucky we live down in this corner of the world. What does it mean geopolitically? Though I note there's questions about Pakistan currently helping the Iranians, maybe China or North Korea. You'd hope that it would stabilise the region after the military action is over. Can we predict?
Well, I don't think it's going to stabilise things. The thing that's really surprised me has been the lack of clarity from Washington during this situation, because, as you know, Mr. Trump made it very clear he wanted a peaceful solution, and that seemed to be working reasonably well. Mr. Trump's representatives were due to meet in the sixth round of talks, and both sides were being quite positive about it, and suddenly this attack occurred, and I half expected Mr. Trump to do what President Eisenhower did in 1956, which was rebuke the Israelis for our sabotaging American diplomacy, because effectively Netanyahu effectively preempted that meeting that was due to occur.
Or was it all part of a cunning plan, Robert?
Yeah, well, that's the second possibility, that Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu are working closely together. The whole diplomatic negotiations were a bit of a charade.
Yeah.
And America was quietly preparing Israel to take this job. Very difficult to disentangle, but it doesn't look good if that's the case, because if you're a superpower, you can't always go into the sort of scheming of partisanship that other countries can. And in a sense, I think, if you're a global superpower, and the United States is, you don't want the suspicion that you've been acting in poor faith, that you've not been acting.
Yeah, but look at the reaction in that part of the world. It appears other Arab states are kind of saying, good on you, BB, and we'll help you out. It's not like the Arab world has really condemned Israel. They're kind of seem quite happy that Iran's getting its beans.
They're pretty compromised. Saudi Arabia depends on the United States for security and has done for much of the post-45 period. I think there's a fair degree of concern. I noticed that 22 Arab and Islamic countries have issued a very strong statement condemning Israel's attack, which is illegal under international law. And, but you may be right. It may be just words. I mean, after all, I think the Arab states could have done a lot more to protest about Israel's humanitarian blockade in Gaza, but they wring their hands. But what do they actually do?
Yeah. Okay. So, and then now, of course, there's talk of regime change. Though, geez, that's a long talk of regime change, and regime change are two quite different things.
Yes, and I draw parallels here a bit, Sean, with the relation, when the United States invaded Iraq to remove the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein, who made, let's not beat about the bush. The Saddam Hussein dictatorship made many people's lives miserable. But the interesting thing was, older heads in Washington, such as Brent Scowcroft, argued from the outset that rearranging the furniture for someone else is not the best thing to do, because many Iraqis, while they were probably happy to see Saddam Hussein go, didn't particularly appreciate the Americans doing it for them.
And the same could happen in Iran. It seems to me the Israelis are kind of saying, we've got rid of the bag bastards, it's up to you now. I don't think anyone from outside wants to go boots on the ground into Iran, because you get Vietnam or you get Iraq.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing here is this attack has already killed in excess of 200 Iranian civilians.
Yeah.
And whether you hate the regime or not, unfortunately, what could happen is that as this conflict goes on, the Israeli initiation of the attack could rally people around the flag. They may think, I don't like this
No
regime,
indications that it have, but hell, I'm only getting this off X and social media.
Kiwis love being outdoors, so why not transform your outdoor living space with a sun view? With our quality range of stylish pergolas, outdoor blinds and awnings, having a sun view is like adding a new room to your home, but for a fraction of the price. Enjoy the outdoors all year round with a range of products to suit your needs. Book a free consultation now with SunView and see the difference.